Pras from the Fugees walked into federal prison Thursday, 14 years, and the Fugees, one of the greatest groups of hip-hop has ever produced, may not recover from it. The Michael Jackson biopic opened to 217 million worldwide in its first weekend and deliberately left out the most complicated part of his story, and we need to talk about that. JPEGMAFIA and Earl Sweatshirt went on a war on Instagram this week, and somebody called it the Kendrick vs. Drake for letterbox users. I thought that was hilarious, and also kind of accurate. Coachella just wrapped 8 rap acts out of 138 total artists, the smallest hip-hop presence in the festival's 26-year history. 606 in gaming goes back to the beginning today. We're talking Def Jam, San Andreas, Bulletproof, Parappa the Rapper. The history of hip-hop and video games before GTA 6 changes everything. In the artist spotlight, JPEGMAFIA name-dropped him this week like it was supposed to be a diss. We're going to talk about who he actually is. I'm Double R, this is 606 and Go, Top 6, let's get it. Number 6, Thursday, April 30th, Pras Michelle walked into the Federal Correctional Institution in Safford, Arizona. 14 years. Let me tell you what he was convicted of so we're clear on what happened. 10 counts: money laundering, illegal foreign lobbying, conspiracy to defraud the United States, witness tampering. He funneled foreign money tied to Malaysian billionaire Joe Low and the 1MBD financial scandal into Barack Obama's 2012 re-election campaign through straw donors to hide where it was coming from. He then lobbied U.S. officials on behalf of foreign interests while he was hiding what he was doing. He also faces $64 million in forfeiture, 3 years of probation after he gets out. His spokesperson said, "This chapter is difficult, but it's not his final one. He's 53 years old right now. He'll be 67 when he gets out, if he serves a full sentence. Now, I need to separate two things because this is a hip-hop journalism show, and this means we have to hold both. What he did is serious. This isn't a drug charge. This isn't a financial error. He participated in an international conspiracy to undermine American democracy. The jury convicted him on all 10 counts that actually happened. And the Fugees made The Score in 1996, one of the greatest albums hip-hop has ever produced. Period. Full stop. No debate. Wyclef, Lauren, Pras, 3 voices that built something that still sounds like nothing else 30 years later. The Score has sold over 22 million copies worldwide. You got Killing Me Softly, Ready or Not, Fuji La. Lauryn Hill is one of the greatest artists of any genre this planet has ever seen. Her relationship with Wyclef already complicated their legacy. Now Pras is in federal prison. And the Fugees, as a group, as a unit, as a possibility, feels further away today than it ever has been. That's the loss, not just for Pras, for everyone who has loved what that group was. At number 5, the Michael Jackson biopic opened April 24th, 97 million domestic, 217 million worldwide in its first weekend. It was the biggest opening in biopic history, bigger than Straight Outta Compton, bigger than Bohemian Rhapsody. The trailer alone got 116 million views in the first 24 hours. The King of Pop still moves numbers like nobody else. Now, here's my actual take on the film. Jafar Jackson, Michael Jackson's real nephew, plays him. First film he's ever been in, and he's genuinely good. The movement, the voice, the physicality. He doesn't just look like Michael, he understands what made Michael different from every other performer who has ever stood on the stage. Antoine Fuqua directed it. Coleman Domingo plays Joe Jackson and brings depth and complexity to a character that could have been one-dimensional. Nia Long, Miles Teller, Mike Myers, the cast is solid. The film covers Michael's life from the Jackson 5 era through 1988. The music is incredible. The concert sequences will make you remember exactly why this man was called the King of Pop. But here's what I can't ignore. The 1993 allegations are not in this film at all. Not because they ran out of time, not because it didn't fit the story, because a clause was discovered in a legal settlement that allowed the removal of those references. They rewrote the third act. 22 days of reshoot, $50 million in additional cost, just to take it out. Now, folks like Spike Lee, who I have enormous respect for, say he loved the film and that critics were wrong to critique it for something that, quote, doesn't fit within the film's timeline, And there are people who agree. The Roots made the argument that we don't ask the same questions of Elvis or Elton John biopics, both of whom have complicated histories. That's a fair point, and I hear it. But here's my take. When you build a film specifically to celebrate a legacy and then spend $50 million to surgically remove the part of the story that complicates it, you're not making a biopic anymore. You're making a tribute video with a $200 million budget. The audience deserves to be trusted to hold both things at once. Michael Jackson's genius was real. The questions that followed him were also real. In my opinion, a great biopic would have found a way to sit in that tension. This one didn't, and that's the gap between a good movie and an important one. Michael is a good movie, and I say go see it, and know what you're seeing when you sit down. At number 4, JPEGMAFIA and Earl Sweatshirt went to war on Instagram this week, and I need to tell you how it started because the origin is everything. JPEG did an interview with Planes and Pigeons to announce his new album, which he is calling Experimental Rap. And in that interview, he said, "I'm already the best in this space. There's no one who competes with me. Other people in this genre want to pretend they don't want the label. They want to rap like Lucki, make songs that the young people make. I don't need to do that. I can just be myself." Now, most people read that as a shot at Earl. Earl reads that as a shot at Earl. He went to the comments and said, "LMAO, leave me alone. I make music with my friends that I have. Derogatory, nobody copies cuz because his music is gnarled, rough, and ugly. Derogatory." JPEG clapped back. "Your career is gnarled and rough. You're the first nigga since Joe Budden to go back underground literally. Stop saying cuz. You're 32 and went to boarding school. Neither you nor your friends would ever say this to my face. Thank you for the promo, little guy." Earl responded back, "This is where it got genuinely funny. You know what, bro? My fault. I misspoke. Bro is the king of making crunchy music and wearing Muay Thai shorts. Super excited for the album, brother. Positive. Seems like it's going to be really experimental." Dead. Reddit immediately called this, and I want you to hear this, the Kendrick vs. Drake for Letterboxd users. I laughed quite a bit, and this is completely accurate. Here's the real take though. This beef is about the genuine philosophical split in what experimental hip-hop means. JPEG thinks it means chaos, noise, constantly breaking your own formula. Earl thinks it means intimacy, patience, and restraint. Making something so personal it becomes universal. Neither of them is wrong. Both of them make great music, and they clearly cannot stand each other, which will probably make the next few months very interesting because they both have albums coming. And one more thing, JPEG name dropped Lucki in the middle of all this like it was supposed to be an insult. We'll address that at number 2. At number 3, Coachella 2026 just wrapped. Sabrina Carpenter, Justin Bieber, Karol G, those were the headliners. Out of 138 total artists, 8 were hip-hop acts. That is the smallest presence in Coachella's 26-year history. EDM made up to 45% of that lineup, hip-hop 7%. Young Thug, fresh off 2 years in prison on charges that the culture widely believed were unjust, performed his first major festival set and reportedly reminded everyone exactly why he matters. That performance deserved more flowers than it got. But here's the question that I actually want to sit with. Is this a Coachella problem or is this a hip-hop problem? Because I've seen the two arguments this week and both have truth in them. Argument 1. Coachella helped launch or elevate more rap careers in the 2010s than almost any other stage. Kendrick, Kanye, Tyler, Frank Ocean. The desert was a proving ground. And pulling that platform from the genre that is now the biggest music genre in the world, that's a statement. Whether they meant it to be or not. Argument 2, and somebody on Twitter said this, hip-hop was meant for us. They want mass appeal pop music. Go to Drake. We don't need to be everywhere to still be essential in our own culture. And honestly, I feel that too. Hip-hop doesn't need Coachella to validate itself. It never did. The culture built itself from the ground up without anybody's permission. The economics matter. The platform matters. The next generation of fans who discover artists at festivals, they matter. 7% is not a reflection of what hip-hop represents culturally, and Golden Voice knows that. Question is whether they care. And number 2, JPEGMAFIA dropped his name this week like it was supposed to be a put down. Said other rappers in the experimental space want to, and I'm quoting, rap like Lucki. make songs that the young people make. He meant it as a slight, so let me tell you who Lucki actually is. Lucki Campbell Jr., Westside Chicago, June 1996, started rapping at 16, dropped out of high school to pursue music full time. In 2023, a 17-year-old, he released his debut project, Alternative Trap. Music blogs went crazy. Complex, Noisy, Fake Shore Drive, all of them. Because what Lucki did that nobody else was doing in 2013 was blended emotional vulnerability with trap production in a way that felt completely natural. Not performative, not manufactured, just real. He collaborated with the likes of Chance the Rapper, FKA Twigs, Danny Brown, King Cruel, and Earl Sweatshirt, who produced All In off Freewave 3, which makes the JPEG comment even more interesting when you think about it. His debut studio album, Flawless Like Me, dropped in 2022 and debuted at number 12 on the Billboard 200. His second album, Sex, Money, Drugs, Stylized with Asterisks, debuted at number 15 in 2023. Chicago Reader called him Chicago's best conscious rapper. 6.2 million monthly Spotify listeners, and this week of May 1st, 2026, he dropped a brand new EP called Days Before Bad. So when JPEG said, rap like Lucki, like this was an easy road, he's talking about an artist who has been building since he was 17 years old, made the Billboard 200 twice, influenced a generation of rappers who all cite him when they talk about how they found their sound. That's not a diss, that's a resume. Start with New Drink, then go to Flawless Like Me, then check out Days Before Bad right now. It dropped 4 days ago. That's Lucki, Lucki, west side of Chicago, and he's been in your city this whole time. At number 1, 606 in Gaming. Last episode I told you GTA 6 drops November 19th and we're documenting the road. But before we get there, I need to take you back. Because hip-hop and video games didn't start with GTA. That relationship has roots. And if you don't know the roots, you can't understand why GTA 6 is going to hit the way it's going to hit. So today, we're going back to the beginning. Rapper to Rapper was the first rhythm game built entirely around hip-hop culture. Not inspired by it, not adjacent to it, built from it. The whole game is rap battles. You follow the beat, mirror the flow, you level up by getting the cadence right. It was the first time a video game asked you to feel rhythm instead of just press buttons. That game invented an entire genre, rhythm games, Guitar Hero, Rock Band, Dance Dance Revolution, and all of it traces back to Parappa. And Parappa himself, the way he dressed, the way he talked, the way he carried himself was hip-hop. Full stop. Def Jam Vendetta, 2003. PS2, GameCube, Def Jam Vendetta. This game puts DMX, Method Man, Ludacris, Ghostface Killer, Redman in a fighting game. Not as licensed characters you unlocked after grinding, as the main roster. You pick your rapper and you fought through the underground hip-hop clubs to the top of the criminal empire. The genius of this game was that it understood hip-hop relationship to toughness without mocking it. It treated the artists with respect. Their personalities were in the gameplay. DMX played different from Ludacris, Method Man played different from Ghostface. And the music, the actual music, was woven into the fights. Beat drops became power moves, and the culture and the gameplay were the same thing. Def Jam Vendetta is still one of the most beloved hip-hop video games ever made, and nobody's made anything like it since. GTA San Andreas 2004. PS2, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This is the one that changed everything. Rockstar set the game in a fictionalized version of Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Las Vegas in the early 1990s, and they built the entire world around West Coast hip-hop. NWA, Too Short, Dr. Dre, The Dogg Pound, Ice-T was a character in the game. Officer Tenpenny, the corrupt cop hunted CJ down, Samuel Jackson voiced him. The Grove Street Family Gang was directly inspired by NWA. The Ballers, the Vagos, the whole structure of the game mirrored what was happening in Compton and South Central at that exact moment in real life. And the radio stations, Radio Los Santos, Playback FM, K-Rose, you can drive through a fictional version of the hood listening to the actual music that defined that era. For a generation of kids who didn't live on the West Coast, San Andreas was a window into the music, into the culture, into a world that hip-hop had already been describing for a decade. That game did more to spread West Coast hip hop culture globally than almost any other single piece of media. That's not an exaggeration. That is what happened. 50 Cent, Bulletproof, 2005. PS2, Xbox, 50 Cent, Bulletproof. Look, I'm going to be real with you. This was not the best game. The controls were a bit rough. The story was thin. The gameplay loop got repetitive fast. But here's what it did that nobody talks about enough. It made an artist the entire game. Not a character inspired by an artist, not a licensed cameo. 50 Cent, G-Unit, was the game. The story was his story. The beef was his actual beef. The music was his actual music. For the first time, you can live inside a rapper's narrative as if it were a movie you could play. The concept was ahead of the execution, but the concept was right. And it planted the seed for what hip-hop and gaming could be if you just built it properly. Here's what all four of these games have in common. They didn't use hip-hop as decoration. They built the experience around the culture. Parappa was hip-hop as game mechanics. Def Jam Vendetta was hip-hop as identity. San Andreas was hip-hop as world building. Bulletproof was hip-hop as narrative. Each one of them pushed the relationship between two worlds one step further. When GTA 6 drops November 19th with a $3 billion budget, 40 million projected year one sales, and a creator economy platform built into the game itself, it is standing on all of that history. Blowtorches fans used to crack open Drake's ice sculpture are the same fans who grew up playing San Andreas. We grew up in this. We're about to inherit the biggest version that has ever existed. 606 in Gaming is going to be here for every step of that road. 7 months to November 19th. The count is on. That's the top 6 at 606 for the week of May 9th, 2026. Pras in federal prison and the Fugees' legacy left to carry the weight. The Michael biopic, a good movie that spent $50 million to avoid being a great one. JPEG vs. Earl, the underground biggest beef just got personal. Coachella giving hip-hop 7% of 183 spots. And what that actually means. Lucki, JPEG dropped his name like a diss. We just told you it's a resume. And 606 in Gaming, Parappa to Def Jam to San Andreas to Bulletproof. The history before GTA 6 changes everything. Every Friday, 6:06 a.m., 6 stories, no fillers, just the culture. I'm Double R, this is 606 and Go, and I'll see you next Friday.